Hi folks. I wish I could deal with the brightness on this camera a little bit so that you could see better. At least in the monitor or on the tablet, it looks all washed out to me. But this is my next job and it's very exciting and going to be fun to do. But it's got a particular challenge. Naturally, it's not quantity. It's an emergency, a flaming emergency. This job has to be done within the next hour or so. What it is table cards for wedding reception, and it has someone's name and what table they're on, and they're to be scored, and like that. However, each one is different. Each one is already pre-printed. I can't waste any at all. They all have to be accounted for. Luckily, my customer, the printer, gave me a small amount of samples that I can use to set up on. That's not always the case, but in this particular case it did. 75 of them scored right in half, exactly right, as best as I can get it, and without wasting of a single card, and they have to do it right now. Okay, well, I'm going to be working on it mostly. I'll take you along for part of the ride, and maybe I'll come back afterwards and discuss how I ended up running this. There's no way I can run it on the automatic press because I can't trust them to get every single one. Once in a while, cards get messed up, and you have to use up some samples in order to get the thing to feed properly. So I'll be going over to the Chandler Price hand-fed press where I can control everything and take my time and get the job done right. So I'll be back with you in just a few minutes. Morning, folks. What another beautiful day. Venus was like a searchlight in the sky and almost scary. Anyhow, the job is done. It's gone. Customer picked it up. It's the next morning. There was no way I could film running it. Literally, his delivery guy was waiting by the phone so that I could call him and he could pick it up and get it over to the frantic customer. They must have been getting married like last night or something. Or else just a nervous Nelly bride, probably a little bit of both. But I left the press set up. I'm going to briefly show you how I ran it and all that, and maybe down the road go into more little details about some of the techniques and ways of doing things. Let's get to it. Well, that's the Chandler Price. I don't know when it was built. I think maybe in the 20s. I could probably check somehow. But it's one of the most beautifully engineered pieces of modern technology you can imagine. It's maintenance free. All you have to do is put a drop of oil in all the oil spots every time you start the thing up or whenever, and it'll run for generations and generations, constantly, all the time, without any need for adjustment. You never have to deal with replacing anything. It will run forever. None of the spindles speed up to rates that would cause any overheating, and they're fully oiled. They got roller bearings. It's beautiful piece of equipment. I think they're roller bearings. Some of them are, some of the cams are, but maybe the inside bearings are just brass. And that wheezing sound you hear is an air pump that's connected to the bottom that operates this contraption here, which is a Kluge feeder. It's a quite a contraption and a pain in the neck, but believe me, it works. And for long runs, 20,000 or something like that, boy, you sure don't want to be hand feeding those. And so it's worth the effort to set the thing up. There's dozens of little adjustments you have to make so that it'll automatically feed and deliver the paper, and you know, angles and blowers and sucker feet and speeds and all of that kind of stuff. So it's not worth the effort to set up for a small little job like this last one. Okay, I hope this shot works out all right. I think I figured out something about the brightness, so maybe you can see this a little bit better. The way I ran this job is to get it exactly right without having to fiddle around with it. I locked up a piece of scoring rule right here. We'll get into lockup some other time. Ran a sample sheet. I put some tape down on the platen. Made an impression. And so I could see exactly where the scoring rule hit on the platen. Put a few more pieces of tape there to give me sort of a female counter die. And then I just lined up the sheet, which I had previously marked with the center line. Installed these little gauge pins, again a subject for another video I think. And ran off the first one. And guess what? It was absolutely perfect the very first sample. I'm going to run a couple of them right now so you can see basically the rhythm of the thing. I don't have finger cots on. I should, so that I can pick up accurately. But I'll have to get around to turn the press on. Let it get up to speed a little bit here. It's a low horsepower motor. Came with the press. This press may have been set up for a line shaft drive at one time. I don't think it ever had a foot treadle on it. But the motor that came with it is interesting. Big old thing with a variable speed lever on it. I like to keep it at a pretty slow speed. But anyway, this is off impression here. This would be on impression, cause it to actually hit. Play big stop, and here we go. Hey, score. Just like that. 75 of them, one at a time. Perfect results. I'm pretty happy, and so is the customer, I think. Well, that's basically it. I know it's just a little tiny clip, but part of the problem is I'm still not used to working this camera, getting things set up right. The tripod is problematic. I don't think ahead, so then I'm gonna have to bump into the tripod to get around, and I'm gonna get better at it. You'll get better videos down the road. My skills will improve over time, as I hope you'll see. Anyway, there's a little taste, and until I see you next time, keep the faith.